Hi guys, thank you very much for being here. Paulina coming to you from Mazunte in Oaxaca, Mexico. Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful day today outside. There are the waves outside as well. If you can hear a sound, that's what it is. And yes, it's a little bit noisy, so I'm sorry for any background noise. And here we are. Let's talk about this incredible eclipse and this amazing turn of events that it may happen leading up to it. So we have an incredible transition from Capricorn to Aquarius. We have the Sun opposite to the Moon, of course, and the Moon is almost conjunct the North Node, or has just gone through the North Node here. We have a very strong fire trine. We have Venus conjunct Jupiter. We would have passed through Saturn, Pluto and Mercury with the Sun. We would have had to do maybe quite a lot of work on ourselves and each other if we were really determined to make a change. Eclipse is the best time to stop and start over. Eclipse is the most incredible, potent, life-changing time to recognize, reorganize, and see yourself. Trust yourself anew. Make yourself the better person that you always wanted to be, and hope for the best. Because some of it is going to be true, some of it is going to be turned around, some of us are going to start to change ourselves in the way we think. We're going to get a lot of action, I feel, as well, from people and events and environment around us, or some turning within to make ourselves recognize who we aren't. That means the grinding of ourselves down. The reformative process cannot start sometimes unless we truly turn ourselves around. And we have such a strong Uranus, such a strong Mars, a very, very strong and at the same time safe sky to really derive a better reality for ourselves, to really truly start to tune in, fine-tune, recognize and see. Trust your nose, trust your eyes, trust your gaze. You have to embody here and really no longer try and fall away from your here and now through what you thought could have been, through where you think you should have been, or who you think you should have become. It is not really the time now to search, but to distill, refine, hone in, get down into the business side of things, go through the things that you need, trust your intuition, and place yourself in the way that you know best how. Perhaps it's a good time to now trust your parents, trust your life, trust the turning of events, and really give yourself that optimum, strong feeling of self-recognition and self-connection that you know you may really benefit from in order to get yourself down into a nice, compatible space, in order to lean yourself towards, not away from that which is good for you, to get yourself ready, to make yourself whole and to keep yourself tight, but also to let the water of time, that's how it feels for me, like the waters of time, the tides, the changes, let you shed what you no longer need to be. So it is an interesting time where we need to be compact and get real, but at the same time we got to be empty enough and willing and allowing enough to let the time wash away, and whatever events that may happen now wash away, whoever's not real, whatever cannot be, whatever you know that you cannot really truly full-heartedly trust, and whoever or whatever just will not ever be part of your world. There's going to be 2 or 3 things that might no longer make sense. There might be 2 or 3 people that will no longer stay with you or give to you or keep. There are going to be miserable people and miserable situations kind of like floating to the surface, and your own innocence and your own lifetime choices and changes might be very pure. And when they're so pure and so open and your heart is like a flower, it might be very uncomfortable for you to see yourself in this light. Those thoughts that you experience, those people that you perhaps are thinking or dreaming of, these things that are plaguing you now might have such an intricate part in your world. They might play such a huge part, or the metaphor of it all might be so strong and so real to you that it might make you feel uncomfortable. It's like, when people say, I love you so much I could puke. It's like there is a sense of sentimentality about this healing crisis. I feel that there is almost like a feeling of nervousness and nausea with this changing of tides. I also recognize that there's going to be maybe a lot of purity for us all, and sometimes to remember ourselves in such a pure state with this Jupiter, Venus in the sky, 12th house to the sun basically. I mean, to feel ourselves in such great openness. And as the sun progresses onto Aquarius, of course, is going to be more like the 11th house. We're going to really understand each other in so much more purity and so much connection. If we can let ourselves be pure too. Innocent, uninhibited, strange, very human, very humble, very natural. I mean, this is all going to a greater life. Like these weird growing pains and these very strange infantile or teenagey experiences and changes in your world, these sentiments of innocence, this strange new sentience that feels almost grotesque because it is too pure or maybe too fragile, that can inevitably lead you to a greater end and a greater beginning if you just let it be. So it's hard to let your guard down. It is hard here to be like a baby. It's difficult to embody almost like a toddler state, and to sometimes do it all over again in order to claim this greater curiosity, to revise the choices that you've made for your life, to no longer be so conservative and so peacekeeping, but yet so unwilling to change. We have to let in more fluidity. We need to let in more aroma of joy. The moon is in Leo. The moon is actually on a cusp here and almost conjunct the North Node. I mean, this is like where the moon is truly asking you, where is your heart? And who are you truly evolving into? Through this fire trine, you will see also the day after who you are really, for real. What are these feelings? What are these floods of hormones telling you about you? What is this flood of nature within your being and your body? What are these things that you're trying to keep or manage that you cannot any longer retain, because perhaps the truth and the purity, and it's almost like the heart palpitations, like the butterflies in your soul, are not going to let you keep around perhaps a lot of that which is just neurosis. We on occasion create partnerships and companionships and lots of loving situations and definites, not because we really want to live with them or within those parameters. We are sometimes on a search for a parameter in order to make life matter somehow on the greater scale. We think, if I'm a certain age, I need a husband, or if I'm a certain age, I need a group of friends or a really conservative job. Place-keeping situations. I mean, we've just gone through Capricorn. We're just in the last few degrees now. As we are becoming more open to heart, and as we are becoming more lively in who we truly are, and the curiosity just takes us over and puts us into this greater fragility. It is hard, it's like growing pains, it's embarrassing, you know, it's like being adolescent again. It's like pimples and BO and like weird changes in the body. It's like going through a certain type of metaphorical crisis here in order to get to that green light. And the one that gives the green light is not the piece of paper that says wed. You know, it's not the contract with the job. It's not truly the monetary outcome of your work, or any type of class system, or any kind of evolution in society. The true green light is in you. The true light that you're looking for is just you letting yourself be yours, and allowing yourself to be uninhibited and abundant and kind of goofy and strange. It's like adolescence. It's like having pimples again. It is like having issues, perhaps being finally full of love eventually for your incompletions, because that's where the light is coming from. The fragility, the abundance of glee, the innocence, the abundance of curiosity, the kindness, the awkwardness, you know, the frailty of the moment, the feeling of need, the feeling of love, you know, the feeling of gentleness, the feeling of incompletion, lack of mastery, lack of knowledge, sometimes truly the lack of understanding. It's interesting, like how far Capricorn has gotten you and how much you've done, and then also releasing that feeling of being the old man, or being the great guru or the guide or the practitioner or the adult, and then allowing this incredible parallel space in Aquarius, in this fire trine, to just basically push you out of the stale need for control. And this beautiful state instead takes over, which suggests to me, I know nobody, I don't know anything, how can I keep this around? How could I possibly know which way is next? How can I possibly? It is like the fool, you know, it is the inability to say no sometimes to love. It is like being a fresh newborn baby. It is more like being unable to even talk it out, even being unable to counsel yourself or another. It's like not being in control and not being in power, just enough sometimes to let whatever arithmetic or whatever structures you've created in your mind, you know, at work, within your relationships, especially as we're coming to the end of the dog year here, in your timeline, letting them fall, to aid yourself in greater opening to freedom and to faith. And there is like almost no other way than to get fully vulnerable and to be fully vulnerabilized within your own even strengths, to see that perhaps the conjunctions with truth, you know, the right things you've done, the right things you said, or the right pieces you have on occasion will not guarantee. So switch from Capricorn to Aquarius, and also interesting window here between Cancer and Leo. They will not guarantee you truth and success, health and vitality. Happiness is not guaranteed, even if you get your cards right. So what I want to do here is I want to do this. Okay, it's quite curious. I got this tarot pack, you know, it's really funny. I got this tarot pack. I used to read a lot. So I'm going to draw 3 cards, and perhaps based on these 3 cards, I'm going to try and touch on some topics that I perhaps haven't touched on. So here are the 3 cards. And hopefully these will aid in greater clarity as to what I was trying to say while channeling for you just now. Okay, so 3 cards for you. Okay, first card is this. I've been seeing this a lot for me as well recently. So here we have to look at what we've done and maybe see that it was just too much ado. Maybe we've wasted time. Maybe we try to keep it all together and we made 1,000 different plans and platforms for ourselves. Maybe we've started and stopped so many things, and maybe we have created and finished so many missions, and now it's truly the time to perhaps calm down, chill out, and see that maybe it is too much work and it takes too much worship to get to where we're going. So the dollar, the working life, the relationships, the situations at home, maybe it can be not as complex as it has been. So being unencumbered, and of course the eclipse should definitely help with that. So the second card is this card. This is where we just let it go. We need to walk away from situations sometimes, and we need to leave things behind. And what better time than on the eclipse? On the eclipse. Perhaps it is no longer time to do things how we've done. Maybe it's not useful to us. Maybe there is just no time indeed. You know, maybe it's a different measure of life now. And maybe it's important to allow those thoughts and choices that are not giving back to your heart and your greater innocence and your greater child within. Maybe just letting them go and taking your steps into the direction that actually feels good. Yeah, so what feels good, what feels right, and sometimes it's not about what is pulling you, but rather than trying to use this Venus-Jupiter conjunction to the greater expansion and trying to gain more or have more or ask for greater. Maybe it's just about leaving things behind. And the last card for you is, or for us, this one, Temperance. So this is a perfect high arcana card for learning and teaching, and also, as I've said earlier in previous videos, the best teacher is the one that can also learn and fathom a lot more through both. There is need to understand the animal and the solar nature. You know, we have to no longer fight here. There are lots of conflicts, and there's lots of buts, and there's lots of spite maybe, or there's lots of fighting happening. You know, we don't have to worry about it. We don't have to worry about getting things right either. It's just important to resolve things in a nice, mature, calm way. And also to trust that spirit is there. You know, spirit is here. There is no unspiritual space. It is all there. You know, it is all watching. God is everything. You know, everything is watching itself evolve. We don't have to flush everything so violently, even if you know that you've done something wrong or you're afraid of how things are going to go in the future or how things have gone in the past. It's fine. So basically, it is a time to be in greater self-forgiveness, I believe, greater faith and love in God, and maybe just letting things come to their own conclusion, not being too worried or ashamed about the mistakes of the past, and not letting past grief or past needs to do the right thing really push you here. You know, there is no truth unless it is obvious. You know, there is no need to push and pull and box with life. You know, you can just carefully, patiently, lovingly, and sort of infinitely care into greater connection. So it's like a slow pouring. You know, you don't have to force yourself to leave, although it is important to move on from past mistakes and past environments. It's important to move on, But you don't have to do it forcefully. You don't have to cry about it. You know, you don't have to bang your head against the wall. You don't have to use this incredible fire trine energy to push yourself in a violent self-rebirth during this time. Things can be done calmly. Also, this is the best card for Sagittarius energy. There is peace and love for us all, always. And sometimes the easiest or the best way to resolve it is through maturity, the breath, letting things go, not grasping or not running after the future. If somebody or something is not there, maybe because it isn't meant to be here. You haven't done anything wrong. You don't have to try and see why things don't add up. You don't have to push or punch yourself. You don't have to abuse mentally, physically, or emotionally who you are, or spiritually who you are, and why things haven't come to be. You can just let this process take place organically and vulnerably. And I hope that everything that is not for you will naturally come to pass, and what you are meant for will inevitably become a greater and greater possibility without you trying to struggle through. So thank you very much. I hope you enjoyed this prognos. If you'd like to know more about me, if you'd like to book a reading, everything's in the caption below. If you want a reading for your specific sign, I'm going to do very short ones for this month, and they will be on Patreon. I actually suggest signing up to my Patreon because it has a lot more than my YouTube can handle. So if you'd like, check out this mini reel of all 12 signs, and perhaps with these insights you'll find a much easier path for you during this very, very important lunar eclipse. Thank you very much. All the details are in the caption below, and I hope to see you next time. Bye.